Should you buy or should you rent? With interest rates at an all-time high, it might be argued that now is not a good time to buy a property, as mortgage costs are really expensive at the moment and it seems that property prices are holding strong. However, rents are also the highest they've ever been, with some people viewing it as money down the drain. So what should you do? I've been investing in property for 13 years, so I thought it would be a good idea for me to do a deep dive analysis looking at all the factors that you might want to consider when looking to buy or rent. I'm going to show you step by step how you can do this analysis for yourself and leave the link so that you have all the resources that I've used so that you can do this for a house or a flat in an area that you're looking to either buy or rent. The average house price in Stevenage in Hertfordshire, according to Rightmove, is £349,355. I'm using Stevenage because I'm familiar with the area, but if you want to perform this analysis for an area that you are looking in, then simply go on to Rightmove and click on house prices and sold house prices, and then below that it will show you the average. This is a 3-bedroom house I found for sale in Stevenage. I found this house nearby which is available for rent. If you were to rent this property, you would usually sign a 6-month tenancy agreement, and then every 12 months you are likely to have rent reviews. The rent is usually increased in line with inflation, so let's assume you rent this house for £1,600 per calendar month, and the rent increases by the rate of inflation in years 2, 3, 4 and 5, which according to the IMF is forecasted to be at 2.2% over the next 5 years. So the total rent paid over this period would have been as follows. In year 1, £1,600. In year 2, £1,635. In year 3, £1,671. In year 4, £1,708. And in year 5, £1,746. On this basis, the inflation adjusted monthly rent would have been £1,672 per month. Now let's assume we decided to buy the 3-bedroom house. Assuming we put down the average deposit, which is about 15%, then based on a 5-year fixed of 4.33%, that means the monthly payments would be £1,625 per month. The amount you put down can be less, which would mean your mortgage payments would be higher, and you can also put down a bigger deposit so that your monthly payments are lower. The deposit you put down can vary from 10 to 20%, so I've decided to use 15% as the average. What's really interesting is that the monthly mortgage cost is £1,625. It's only £47 less than renting a 3-bedroom house in the same area. Historically, it's always been cheaper to pay the costs of a mortgage when compared to renting, but as you can see, with the interest rates increasing from their historical lows to what they are now, the cost of monthly mortgage payments have increased significantly. Just to put this in context, you could previously have got a 5-year fix at 3%, which would have made the monthly payments £1,411. So the monthly payments have increased significantly. However, what you have to bear in mind is that if you are buying a property in the example above, your payments are fixed at £1,625 per month for 5 years. Whereas if you are renting the property, then you could on average be paying £1,672 per month, taking inflation into account. So on the face of it, in the current market, it seems that in this example that mortgage costs are marginally less than the costs of renting. We also have to look at the opportunity cost. When it comes to renting, it could be argued that it's a waste of money, as you are paying the money across to someone else who is using that money to pay down an appreciating asset. However, renting does have the benefits in that it could be beneficial if you are new to the area or struggling to find that perfect house, or just want the flexibility that comes with renting, or you just don't want the financial commitment that comes with having a mortgage. With buying a property, there are lots of upfront costs involved. So for example, in the case of the house in Stevenage for £350,000, you would need the following. Deposit of 15%, so that's £52,500. Stamp duty, which is basically a property tax which you have to pay, would be zero at this level as there's none to pay. Legal fees, £1,500, and the valuation of £1,000. So all in, you would be in for say £55,000. Now assuming you don't have this saved up, then then you would have to rent. But if you did have this money saved up, then buying a property could be beneficial as the mortgage costs are lower than the rental costs. But you also benefit from something called capital appreciation. The value of property increases over time, so in this example, the average house price in Stevenage has been increasing by 5%. So in 5 years' time, it could be worth, at the end of year 1, it would be worth £367,500. At the end of year 2, it would be worth £385,875. At the end of year 3, it would be worth £405,168. At the end of year 4, it would be worth £425,427. And then at the end of year 5, it could be worth £446,698. So that's £97,000 over 5 years. So roughly about £19,000 per annum, which is obviously really good as a result of you not having to do anything to the property. So this is a pretty good investment when compared to renting, where you don't benefit from any of the capital appreciation of the property. The only opportunity cost to consider here in this scenario is the money you have used to buy the property in the first place. So the deposit, the stamp duty, the legal fees, and the valuation fees. You could have invested that money in, say, the stock market, which you would have earned, say, a return of 5% per annum. I found a really good calculator that you can use so that you can enter your own numbers in the area that you're looking at to see whether you are better off buying or renting. Let me complete this for you using the Stevenage property so that you can get an idea of what you need to enter. This is a really helpful tool. This calculator says that you are better off buying as you are better off by £88,464 over the same period compared to renting. What this calculator is doing is taking into account the capital growth in the property and then deducting all the costs you've incurred, such as putting down the deposit, paying the monthly mortgage payments, and it takes into account repairs and maintenance over that 5-year period, and also the buying and selling costs, as it assumes that you are selling after 5 years. Net, it shows that you are up £11,000. Now, if we look at the rental results after 5 years, you can see that you are £76,893 worse off. The reason for this is that although you've saved the deposit monies required to buy a house of £52,500 and you've actually earned interest on that money over the 5-year period of £21,925, the rent paid over the 5 years was £100,318. The calculator is based on a number of different assumptions, such as the rate of house price growth, interest rates, the rental levels, the rate of inflation, and how long you plan to rent or buy, for which I've assumed 5 years so that we can compare renting versus buying for the same period. But it's really useful to plug in the values for a house that you're thinking of buying or renting in your area to see how you might do in the long term. There are psychological factors to consider in this analysis. For example, if you are buying a house, then given it will be your house, you will be able to do with it as you wish. You can extend it and decorate it. If you are renting, yes, you will have more flexibility, but you will need permission from the landlord if you are planning on painting or decorating. So in summary, if you know where you want to live and have saved up the money required to buy a house, then buy a house. Property prices tend to double every 10 years, and usually the mortgage payments are cheaper than renting, and you have more control in adding value to your own property. If, on the other hand, you don't have sufficient funds for the deposit, or you're not sure if you want to be in that particular area for the long term, then renting might be a better option. If you really are struggling to save the money for a deposit, I have found a way that you could significantly reduce the amount of money you end up tying into the property. I saw this article in the news. Apparently, an increasing number of people are turning to bridging to cover property purchases. Apparently, the reason being is a chain break. That is when the buyer for someone's property falls through, leaving them unable to pay for the property they want to buy. More than a fifth of bridging loans in the third quarter of 2022 were being taken out for this reason. Since mortgage repayments have become more expensive in recent months, along with rising prices for energy, food, and other household outgoings, we could see broken chains becoming an increasingly common issue. I've been investing in property for 13 years, and in 2019 I found a way to exponentially increase the growth of my property portfolio by using the B4R property investing model. This model can be used if you're looking to buy a house or a flat to live in, which can help reduce the amount of money you have tied up in the property. For example, if you're looking to buy a flat, if you buy a 1-bedroom apartment and convert this into a 2-bedroom apartment, you could drastically reduce the amount of money you've tied up in the property. You would have to buy on on a bridge, complete the works, and then refinance onto a residential mortgage. I know 100% this would work as I've completed a number of these projects, but instead of refinancing them onto a residential mortgage, I refinanced onto a buy-to-let mortgage. If you are looking to buy a house, you could buy a house and add value to it by adding a bedroom if it's a 2-bedroom house, adding a loft room if it's a 3-bedroom house and you have room in the loft, building over the garage to create 2 additional bedrooms and converting the existing garage into an additional room, going from a 3-bedroom house to a 5-bedroom house, converting a 3-bedroom house into a 5-bedroom house by doing a double-story rear extension and internal reconfiguration. This is exactly what I've done on my current house. I am going from a 3-bedroom house to a 5-bedroom house, which will add a lot of value to this property. With this model, you do need more money up front, but you do get that back on the refinance. So in essence, you end up with a property at the fraction of the normal cost. Let me show you one example to help illustrate this. Imagine you wanted to buy a 2-bedroom flat in London Bridge and you were able to buy something worth £450,000. The amount of money you would need to buy this would be as follows. Assuming you put down a 20% deposit, you would need £90,000. Stamp duty would be £1,250. Legal and valuation fees would be £2,000. You would then need to furnish the apartment, so let's assume you spend £7,500 for furniture. This might seem like a lot, but you might want to paint and decorate the flat and also maybe even change some of the flooring in some of the rooms. All in, you would need £100,750. That's a lot of money. It would take quite a bit of time to save up that money. Even if there were 2 of you, it would take a long time to save that amount of money, especially if you are renting, as renting is more expensive when compared with making mortgage payments. My model. I developed the B4R property investing model, which stands for buy, reconfigure, refurbish, rent, and refinance. I realized that I could use this framework in the following way. Buy, reconfigure, refurbish, arrest, and refinance. Using this framework, I could end up with the same apartment above in London Bridge with only £13,480. Honestly, that's £13,480 compared with £100,750. I had to look at the numbers a few times to see if I got my numbers correct, but the numbers actually work. For example, if I apply this strategy to an actual project I completed, but instead of renting out the apartment, assumed I was going to refinance the apartment onto a residential mortgage, then this is how I would have ended up with an apartment in London Bridge for only £13,480. Buy. I purchased this 1-bedroom apartment for £330,000 on a bridge. A bridge is simply just a bridging loan, which is a short-term loan. Reconfigure. I moved the kitchen into the living room to create an open plan kitchen diner and change the kitchen into a bedroom. Refurbish. The apartment needed a complete refurbishment, so given that I was putting in a new kitchen, I decided to completely refurbish the apartment, which included a new bathroom, new kitchen, new flooring, and painting and decorating throughout. Rest. Normally at this stage, I would rent out the apartment once the refurbishment works are complete, but given this is a residential strategy, you simply wait until you have reached the 6-month point of ownership, at which point you can refinance the apartment onto a residential mortgage. Refinance. After 6 months of ownership, I would refinance this apartment onto a residential mortgage. As a 2-bedroom apartment, this apartment got valued at £450,000. With a residential mortgage, I would have been advanced 80% of its value, so that's £360,000. When I say me, I mean my solicitor. The incoming £360,000 would have paid down the bridge and all the other costs I would have incurred. That's a total of £373,480, meaning that I end up with a 2-bedroom flat in London Bridge that had literally cost me £13,480 compared to the traditional way, which would have cost me £100,750. I can only imagine anyone watching this probably thinks this isn't possible, or it doesn't work, or the numbers don't work, but in essence there must be a reason why this won't or doesn't work, but honestly I can't see why it wouldn't. I really had to check with another broker to see if this was actually possible, and here's what they said. I then asked what the likely rates would be for the bridging loan, and my broker said the following. So what's the catch? There is no catch, but this model does make some basic assumptions which, to be honest, would apply even if you were looking to buy a flat in the first place. Assumptions. In order for this strategy to work, you have to make sure you will qualify for the following. A bridging loan. If you can qualify for a residential mortgage, then getting a bridging loan will be a piece of cake. I always used to think that bridging loans are much easier to get compared to a mortgage. Bridging lender takes first charge over the property, so as long as you can show them an exit, they will happily lend. A residential mortgage. You have to make sure you will qualify for a residential mortgage. Both step 1 and step 2 can be checked in advance of doing anything by speaking with a bridging and mortgage broker. Using this strategy, you will need more money up front because you are undertaking a complete refurbishment. So in this example, you would need an extra £40,000, but you will get that back upon the refinance. What you have to remember is that upon the refinance, this apartment will have cost you £13,480 compared to £100,750. That's a saving of £87,269. If you were looking to buy an apartment anyway, this model allows you to get so much of your initial monies back. With property prices the way they are at the moment, a lot of people are having to wait to get on the housing ladder, but this method means that you can overcome that barrier. A lot of people tend to borrow money from mum or dad for their first property, but this method allows you to pay that back even faster in 8 months once the refinance goes through, compared to years and years. I appreciate this model might not be for everyone, as there is an element of uncertainty in relation to the value of a 2-bedroom apartment, and also assumes that your circumstances don't change in 6 months. In terms of the uncertainty of the value, that's a relatively easy one to overcome. You can ask agents to provide you sold comparables for 2-bedroom apartments and sold within the last 6 months within a quarter mile of the property that you're looking at. You can easily do this yourself on Rightmove sold house prices. In terms of your circumstances, here I'm referring to you not qualifying for a residential mortgage, say for example if you lose your job. In any case, this would all be relevant anyway if you were looking to buy an apartment in the first place. I've converted lots of apartments in central London where I've used the B4R model to build up my property portfolio. Using the B4R model has allowed me to buy nearly 3 times the number of apartments when compared to the traditional way of investing. I have completed other projects like this in London, and the details of these projects are on my website ravinderorgula.com if you would like to check those out.